the biomechanics of healthy breathing. So today we review the basics of what is a healthy way to breathe in the body. There are 3 basic phases of a healthy breath. The first one is what we talk about a lot in QiGong and Tai Chi, which is the belly breath. So here, if I place my thumb in my navel and just let the palm drop here below the navel, this area we call the lower dantian. We would consider this phase 1 in a healthy biomechanical breath, where the diaphragm pushes down on the inhale, and that makes the belly expand when we're relaxed. And then when we breathe out, the diaphragm comes back in, and that brings the belly back in towards the spine. This is phase 1 in a healthy biomechanical breath. But a lot of us are not breathing from this first stage of a healthy breath. We're breathing up here in the chest, where when we inhale, it's our chest that's rising and our shoulders rising a lot. And then when we breathe out, our chest and our shoulders come back down. This again is a suboptimal breathing pattern. We know that we have this diaphragm muscle that attaches to the base of the ribs all the way through the center of the body. We have other respiratory muscles too, but this is the big one. And when we are relaxed and we are breathing in fully, the diaphragm muscle, it must go down in order to suck air in like a vacuum. If we are tense in the belly, if we are filled with stress and anxiety and hold tension in the belly, it won't expand when the diaphragm muscle moves down. That means all the organs are down here, and they won't allow the diaphragm to come down to fill the lowest parts of the lungs here at the base of the rib cage. So when we are relaxed, ideally in phase 1 of a healthy breath, on the inhale the belly expands out a little, and on the exhale the belly comes back in. With the hands on the belly, we can feel if that's happening or not. And it's okay if it's not. The majority of Americans are caught up in stress breathing. That's why we're covering this. And why I love Sun style Tai Chi with its emphasis on breathing. So that's phase 1 in the anatomy of a healthy breath. In order to take a full healthy breath, the diaphragm must go down, the belly must come out. Otherwise, the organs make it so that not as much air can come into the bottom of the lungs. The second phase of a healthy biomechanical breath is that this diaphragm muscle attaching to the base of the rib cage, from a structural, functional point of view, when we inhale fully, as the diaphragm goes out, it flares out the rib cage a little at the bottom. It makes it expand a little from the bottom. So if we place our hands right on the base of the ribs, here at the rib cage, not on the fleshy, fatty, whatever you want to call it part, but up on the bony part here. It might be a little uncomfortable at first. Kind of wrapping the thumb around, relax the shoulders. We'll just notice as we breathe in and out a normal breath, if this part of the lungs expands a little when we breathe in or not. I'm going to show you as I'm quiet for a few breaths what I mean, and try to exaggerate phase number 2 of this healthy breath. You can see it. As I breathe in, the belly expands first, that's phase 1, and then the lower ribs expand, helping to draw more air into the lungs, and then the lower ribs come back in on the exhale. It's okay if you're not breathing like that, but understand that the ribs are a bony cage. that are surrounding and encaging the sponge-like lungs. And if the ribs are not moving while we're breathing in and out, that means those soft, delicate, spongy lung tissues cannot expand as we breathe in. There are no muscles in the sponge-like lung. So if the lower rib cage is not expanding on the inhale, that means air is not reaching this part of the lungs because there's no more room. The cage of the ribs is keeping it closed in. So the first phase of a healthy breath is here at the belly where it expands, allowing more air to come into the bottom of the lungs, and then the belly comes back. In the second phase, the cage of the ribs expands out as the diaphragm lowers. It pushes the rib cage out, and then it comes back in on the exhale because we have respiratory muscles within the rib cage, in between the ribs. It's not only the diaphragm, but there's 3 phases to a healthy biomechanical breath because our lungs are also up here at the top of the rib cage. So now I invite you to bring the tips of your fingers together as I try to not anger the mic, right on the breastbone, with the fingers pointing right at each other, and just relax the shoulders. When we're inhaling and we're relaxed and the rib cage is expanding, the fingers will come apart a little. And when we're breathing out and we're relaxed, the fingers will come back together. Because in a healthy biomechanical breath, the ribs expand a little on the inhale, allowing more air to fill the lungs. And then on the exhale, the hands come back in as the ribs come back in. And it's okay if your hands are not moving in this way as you breathe in and out. With awareness and attention to the breath, we create better breathing habits. A lot of people, instead of the hands moving apart at the chest, will breathe like this, where the chest is rising up and down when we breathe in and out. But when we breathe up into the chest, the belly cannot expand. The belly comes in. So ideally, first the belly expands, then the lower ribs expand, and then the upper ribs expand as we breathe in. And then when we breathe out, it all relaxes back into center. We can almost imagine that our lungs are like balloons, and when what is encasing those balloons is relaxed, as we fill the balloons, everything expands a little. And when we empty the balloons of our lungs, everything comes back into itself, just like a balloon emptying of air. With this information, I invite you now to place one hand on the belly, one hand on the center of your chest, and just relax and take a few breaths in and out of the nose. And just notice how you're breathing. As we continue to progress on in Sun 73 Tai Chi, there are many more opportunities to discuss the healthiest breath and why we're concerned about breathing in this way, in a healthy way as we go along. But for now, let this new information about the movement known as open hands and closed hands come into your practice in your form. Because we want our inhale so big and we want to be so aware of it that the whole body expands when we breathe in. The belly, the base of the ribs, and the upper ribs, and that means the arms are expanding. When we breathe out, we're so relaxed that the belly comes in, the base of the ribs come in, and the upper ribs come in too. So we have this new awareness in our form that with each open and close, It should not be the muscles of the shoulders that are doing most of the work to open the hands and bring them back in. It should be the full, relaxed, biomechanically correct breath that we are developing. Because when the belly expands, and then the lower ribs expand, and then the upper ribs expand, the arms themselves will naturally expand open a little with the fullness of that life-giving breath. And the arms will naturally come back in a little as we let go of that breath naturally, in and out of the nose. It bears repeating from the very beginning that each breath we take in Sun style Tai Chi should be taken from this position where the head is up in good posture. The teeth are held lightly together with the tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth, so that the breath is consciously taken in and out of the nose, which is the healthiest way to breathe. If it is difficult to breathe through the nose, it is of course better to breathe through the mouth. But with a new level of understanding of awareness of the breath, we know that nasal breathing is the healthiest. So perhaps we'll discuss that in the next opportunity we have in Sun style Tai Chi, where the open and close comes into play.